Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about your presence. It's not just about being in a room or having a conversation. Your presence is an energy, a light, a force that shapes the world around you. And when you pull that presence away, oh, they feel it. They feel it like the sun dipping below the horizon, leaving only shadows in its wake. When you decide to go no contact, it's not just an action, it's a statement. A statement that says, I respect myself enough to walk away from anything that no longer serves me. And when you do, they go through it. Oh, they go through it. First, there's confusion. They're asking themselves, why did they leave? What did I do? The answer to that question? It's in the silence you've gifted them, because that silence forces them to face themselves. It's like holding up a mirror, only this time they can't look away. And then there's reflection. The moments you shared, the times you were there for them, the ways you carried them, even when they didn't realize it. Now, they're seeing all the things they took for granted. They're replaying conversations, recalling your laughter, your advice, your presence. But here's the part they weren't ready for. Growth. Not yours because you've been growing all along, but theirs. In your absence, they're learning what life looks like without you. And that lesson, it doesn't come easy. And finally, realization. They begin to understand that walking away wasn't just about them, it was about you. Your strength, your boundaries, your self-respect. They see that you didn't leave because you did care. You left because you cared about yourself enough to stop settling for less than you deserve. So let them go through it. Let them face the void, the silence, the lessons. Because your absence isn't just a loss for them, it's a victory for you. Keep moving forward. Keep shining your light, even if it's from a distance. Because sometimes the greatest impact you can make is in the space you leave behind. Your presence is not just a simple fact of life, it is an undeniable force, a rhythm that resonates in the lives of those around you. Think about it for a moment. Every interaction, every word, every gesture you give, it carries weight. It influences moods, creates memories, and builds connections. When you're there, truly there, you don't just occupy space, you fill it with something unique, something irreplaceable. And when you decide to remove that presence, the impact is profound. It's like taking a cornerstone out of a structure. Suddenly, everything around it begins to shift. People may not always notice the effort you put into being there for them, the quiet ways you hold things together. But the moment you're gone, that's when they realize just how significant you were. Absence has a way of magnifying presence. When you step away, what you leave behind is not just silence, it's a vacuum. It's a space that demands attention. Those who were once surrounded by your energy start to feel the emptiness you've left behind, and it's not something they can ignore. They might not have fully understood what your presence meant when it was constant, but absence has a way of teaching lessons that words cannot. You see, your presence is more than your physical being. It's the way you uplift others, the way you listen without judgment, the way you bring light into the darkest corners of someone's life. When you take that away, it creates a ripple effect. It forces others to confront the reality of what they had when they had you, and more importantly, what they lost when they didn't value you enough. Sometimes, people don't realize the quiet strength you bring into their lives. They overlook the times you were there when they needed someone to lean on. They forget how often you sacrificed your own peace to ensure theirs. But when you step away, they're left with nothing but memories and questions. And those memories, they replay them over and over, trying to piece together how and why they lost someone like you. What they go through in your absence isn't just about missing you, it's about confronting themselves. They start to question their actions, their choices, and their treatment of you. They begin to see the ways they might have taken you for granted, the moments they should have said thank you but didn't, the times they should have appreciated your effort but brushed it aside. Your absence is not about punishment, it's about respect. Respect for yourself and for the value you bring. When you walk away, it's not because you don't care, it's because you care too much to continue being undervalued. It's a powerful reminder to others that your presence is a privilege, not an entitlement. But here's the thing, your absence does something else. It leaves an imprint, a lasting mark that they can't escape. They might try to fill the void with other people, distractions, or excuses, but none of it will feel the same. Because what you brought to their lives was unique, and once you're gone, they realize there's no replacement for that. This isn't about proving a point or seeking validation. It's about understanding that your energy, your time, and your heart are precious. And when you choose to take those things elsewhere, it's a decision rooted in self-worth. It's not an easy choice, but it's a necessary one. The value of your presence becomes most evident in your absence. It's in the quiet moments when they reach for their phone and hesitate because they know you won't answer. It's in the conversations they replay in their minds, searching for the words they wish they'd said. It's in the realization that your presence was never just about being there, it was about making them feel seen, heard, and understood in a way no one else could. So when you decide to walk away, remember this: your absence is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of theirs, a chapter where they learn the weight of what they've lost and the importance of valuing what matters. And for you, it's a declaration of your worth, a step toward the life you deserve, surrounded by those who truly see and appreciate the light you bring. When you step back, you offer others a profound and often uncomfortable gift, the chance to face themselves. This is no ordinary act, it's transformative. Your absence becomes a mirror, reflecting truths that people have avoided or ignored for far too long. It forces them to look inward, to confront their choices, their behaviors, and even their shortcomings. And let me tell you, that's not an easy process. It's not easy for them to realize that the void they feel in your absence isn't just about losing you. It's about confronting who they are without you. When you were there, your presence acted as a buffer. It softened the edges, filled in the cracks, and sometimes even masked the flaws. You may have been the one who constantly extended grace, the one who made sacrifices to keep the peace, or the one who carried more weight in the relationship without complaint. Your presence provided a sense of stability, perhaps even a distraction from the things they didn't want to face about themselves. But when you're gone, when you step away, all those layers of comfort vanish. They are left standing alone with nothing but the reality of who they are and the choices they've made. And that reality, it can be overwhelming. They begin to see the parts of themselves that they might have hidden behind your kindness, your support, or your understanding. In your absence, there's no one to deflect onto, no one to lean on, and no one to blame. It's just them and the truth staring back at them. This process of facing themselves doesn't happen all at once. It starts with an emptiness, a void they can't quite articulate. At first, they might try to fill it with other people, distractions, or even denial, but none of it works. Because the truth about you and what you meant to them doesn't go away just because they wish it would. It lingers. It whispers in quiet moments. It shows up in memories they can't escape. And as they sit with those memories, they start to realize the role you played in their life. They remember the times you were there when no one else was, the ways you supported them even when it wasn't convenient, the moments you chose to stay when others would have walked away. They begin to see not just what they lost, but why they lost it. And that why, that's the hardest part to face. Your absence becomes a lesson, but not the kind they can learn passively. It's an active, often painful process of self-reflection. They're forced to ask themselves tough questions. Was I really present for them the way they were for me? Did I truly value them, or did I take them for granted? Could I have done better? These questions are like mirrors, reflecting the gaps in their character, the flaws in their actions, and the opportunities they missed to be better for you. And in this reflection, something remarkable happens. They start to understand the impact of their actions or their inaction. They see how their choices, big or small, shaped the relationship and ultimately contributed to its ending. They come to terms with the fact that your absence isn't just something that happened to them. It's something that, in many ways, they caused. But here's the beauty of it. While they're going through this process, you're growing too. You're rediscovering your worth, reclaiming your energy, and realigning your life with what you truly deserve. You're no longer the person who stays to make things easier for others at your own expense. You're the person who knows when to walk away, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. And in doing so, you give them the space to face themselves fully. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't your presence, it's the chance to grow in your absence. It's the opportunity to confront their own reflection without the filter of your support, to learn the lessons they couldn't see while you were there. This isn't about seeking revenge or teaching them a lesson for your own satisfaction. It's about stepping back so they can step up, so they can become more aware, more accountable, and hopefully more whole. And whether they grow from it or not, that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself to honor your worth and to surround yourself with people who see it too. So when you step back, know this: you're not just creating distance, you're creating opportunity. Opportunity for them to face themselves, to learn and to grow. And whether they choose to embrace that opportunity is up to them. You've already done your part. You've already shown your strength. Now, it's time for them to find theirs. Distance is not just a measure of space. It is a profound act of transformation. When you create distance, you're not simply walking away, you're creating a moment of reflection for yourself and for others. It's an act of courage, one that allows growth to take root in places where it couldn't before. This isn't about running from something, it's about creating space for something better. Distance fosters clarity, and clarity in turn fosters growth. When you step away, something extraordinary begins to happen. At first, it feels like a shift, a sudden change in the rhythm of life. For those on the other side of your absence, it might feel jarring, even confusing. They're used to your presence, your support, your energy. But now, with that gone, they're left to face the reality of what your presence meant, often for the first time. And that realization, it hits harder than they expected. Distance doesn't just create a void, it creates a mirror. In that space, people are forced to confront themselves in ways they never did before. Without you there to guide them, support them, or carry the weight they couldn't handle, they're left with their own reflection. And what they see in that reflection isn't always easy. They begin to notice the things they relied on you for, the gaps you filled, and the ways they might have fallen short. But it's not just about them. Distance is also a gift you give to yourself. It's a chance to step back and see things from a broader perspective. Sometimes, when you're too close to a situation, it's hard to see it clearly. You might find yourself caught in cycles of giving and compromising to the point where you lose sight of your own needs and boundaries. But when you create distance, you allow yourself to breathe. You give yourself the space to reflect, to grow, and to reclaim the parts of yourself that might have been overshadowed. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the discomfort of change, in the moments when you step out of the familiar and into the unknown. By creating distance, you're forcing both yourself and others to step out of that comfort zone. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to walk away, hard to let go, and hard to trust that growth will come from it. But it does. Because distance gives everyone involved a chance to face the truths they've been avoiding. For those you've stepped away from, this process can be deeply uncomfortable. They might not admit it, but they feel the weight of your absence. They start to realize that the things they took for granted, your time, your energy, your care, weren't just givens. They were gifts. And now that those gifts are no longer there, they're left to question why. Why did you leave? What could they have done differently? These questions spark growth, even if it's slow and painful. For you, the growth comes in the form of rediscovery. You begin to see yourself more clearly. You recognize the strength it takes to step back and the courage it takes to prioritize your well-being. You start to focus on your own journey, your own goals, and your own happiness. And as you grow, you realize that the distance you created wasn't a loss, it was an opportunity. Distance also teaches the value of appreciation. When you're constantly present, people can become accustomed to your presence. They might not fully grasp what you bring to the table because it feels so constant, so reliable. But when you step away, it creates a stark contrast. It forces people to see what life looks like without you. And in that absence, they begin to understand the depth of your value. But here's the most powerful part. Distance doesn't just foster growth in others, it transforms relationships. It tests them. It shows you which connections are built to last and which were only meant to be temporary. The relationships that truly matter, the ones that are rooted in mutual respect and understanding, will adapt to the distance. They'll grow stronger because of it. And the ones that can't withstand the space, those relationships weren't serving you in the first place. So when you create distance, don't see it as an ending. You see it as a beginning of growth, reflection, and transformation. You're not just walking away, you're creating a path forward for yourself and for others. You're giving everyone involved the chance to grow into the people they're meant to be. And that's the kind of growth that changes everything. When you choose to step away, you're not simply retreating from a situation, or you're demonstrating an unseen strength. It's not always easy to walk away, to make the decision that something or someone no longer serves you, or that it's time to prioritize your own peace. People might not always see it at first, but that walk away, it's an act of immense courage, one that requires self-respect and a deep understanding of your worth. It's one of the most powerful ways to declare to the world and to yourself, I know who I am, and I deserve better. But here's the truth. Walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong, stronger than most people realize. The strength is in the ability to detach, to recognize when it's time to put yourself first, and to have the wisdom to know that sometimes stepping back is the healthiest thing you can do. You're not quitting, you're choosing peace. You're not giving up, you're choosing growth. The world might try to label it as weakness because they don't fully understand the strength it takes to let go of what doesn't serve you. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. It takes an unshakable inner strength to remove yourself from situations or relationships that don't value you. In the absence of your presence, people often come to terms with the value you brought to their lives. They might not have appreciated it fully when you were there. But when you leave, when you choose to step away and remove your energy, that's when they begin to notice. They realize the countless ways you contributed, the ways you made their lives easier or brighter or more meaningful. They see your absence and begin to understand what it truly meant to have you in their corner. But here's the thing, they had that before, and they didn't cherish it. It took your absence for them to understand how much you were truly worth. And that realization, that understanding isn't just about regret, it's about transformation. For those who have experienced your absence, they often come to realize that they lost not just someone who cared about them, but someone who was strong enough to walk away when they were no longer valued. That's a wake-up call for them. They start to reflect on their actions, their treatment of you, and the ways they might have taken you for granted. Your absence forces them to face themselves, to ask questions they might have never considered before. Why did they leave? What could I have done differently? How did I treat someone who genuinely cared for me? These aren't easy questions to answer, but they are necessary if there's any hope of growth. For you, walking away isn't about seeking revenge or getting back at anyone. It's not about making a statement or proving a point. It's about self-respect. It's about knowing your worth, understanding that you are deserving of peace, of love, of reciprocation, and of respect. And when those things aren't being given to you, it's a reminder that you can step away. Walking away is a manifestation of your strength, not a sign of defeat. It's an acknowledgement that your time, your energy, and your heart are valuable, and you won't continue to invest in places that don't appreciate them. And as they go through the process of realizing your worth, you have to remember that you're not responsible for their growth. Your responsibility is to yourself. You're walking away not to teach them a lesson, but to free yourself. You're choosing to honor yourself, your needs, and your worth. And the people who truly value you will understand that. They'll see your absence not as a loss, but as a catalyst for their own growth, a reminder to never take for granted what truly matters. There's a certain power in being able to let go, to walk away, to detach from something that no longer serves you. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about having the wisdom to recognize when you need to protect your own peace. The strength is in knowing when enough is enough and having the courage to act on that knowledge. Sometimes the greatest act of strength isn't in holding on, but in letting go. And when you walk away, when you take that step toward reclaiming your life and your peace, that's when you allow both yourself and others to grow. You create space for healing, for reflection, and for change. And the strength it takes to walk away, that strength speaks volumes, louder than any words or actions ever could. Because the truth is, in walking away, you're showing everyone, including yourself, that you know exactly what you deserve, and you're no longer willing to settle for anything less.